बालवीर सीज़न 3 के एपिसोड 106 में हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह बालवीर अपनी माँ बेनाम और अपने बाप भस्म के साथ एक ऐसे रेगिस्तान में आता है जहाँ पर आगील और आगील के साथ तौबा भी आ जाते हैं। और जैसे ही बालवीर अपने बाप से पूछता है उसके सच के बारे में, तो बेनाम भस्म को रोक देती है और बालवीर बेनाम की कसम खाकर कहता है कि वो अपना सच जान कर रहेगा अपने बाप भस्म से भी, और क्यों उसके बाप भस्म को शाश्वत लोक में उत्तान ने कैद किया था और फिर एक ऐसे कृंकाल लोक में लाकर रख दिया जहाँ से कोई भी उसके बाप को कभी भी छुड़ा ना पाए। और हम देखते हैं कि आगील भस्म को कहती है कि उसे बालवीर को मार देना चाहिए, लेकिन भस्म आगील पर गुस्सा होकर कहता है कि वो आगील को मार देगा अगर आगील ने एक बार फिर कहा भस्म को कि वो बालवीर को मारे। तो भस्म आगील के कहने पे कभी भी अपने बेटे को कभी नहीं मारेगा, और अगर भस्म की दुश्मनी है तो वो सिर्फ बेनाम और शाश्वत लोक से है और ना ही बालवीर से, क्योंकि बालवीर उसका अपना खून है और बालवीर और भस्म मिलकर ही आगील को मार सकते हैं। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होगा क्योंकि भस्म और बालवीर दोनों अलग सोच रखते हैं, और भस्म की सोच भस्म करना है और बालवीर की सोच बचाना है। और आगील इन सब में से किसी का भी फ़ायदा नहीं उठा सकती, क्योंकि आगील को पता है कि कोई भी इनमें से एक दूसरे पर वार नहीं करेगा। तो आगील के लिए अच्छा यही होगा कि आगील यहाँ से अपनी जान बचाकर भाग जाए और वापस हिमबाश लोक में अपनी माँ के पास रहे और अपनी माँ से ऐसी चीज़ें सीखे जो कि बालवीर को मार सकती हैं। अगर आप सबसे पहले सीज़न 3 के एपिसोड्स देखना चाहते हैं तो मैजिक वर्ल्ड को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और इस वीडियो को लाइक कर दें ताकि अगले सीज़न 3 के फुल एपिसोड्स आपके पास सबसे जल्दी आएँ। तो इस एपिसोड को शुरू करते हैं। Today's episode is going to be our 106th episode of Baalveer Season 3, as sad as it is to announce that our very favorite show Baalveer 3 has gone off air from all of the, you can say, Sony platforms, including both Sony Live and Sony Sub. So Magic World is our only hope to watch the rest of the leftover episodes of Baalveer Season 3. Now, of course, we thought that we had until October to finish up the plot of Baalveer Season 3, and of course the ending that we got was somewhat rushed, but at least it came with an ending. And of course, Baalveer Returns episode 354 did not come with an ending. They just kept on, you can say, posting episodes, and it just eventually stopped when the editors were not being paid enough to edit the episodes. So of course now in Baalveer Season 3 they did give us, you can say, bittersweet ending, and it actually isn't an end, it is just the start of an end of Baalveer Season 3's, or you can say this is just an end of a start of the show. And of course some people might think that Baalveer Season 4 will come after it, but it is likely not going to be the case because Baalveer Season 4 does not have that demand. And of course it really is something great to see them respectfully just giving up on their show, considering how bad the show was in terms of ratings and every single thing that concluded to that decision. And of course we really were surprised that this show got to complete 100 episodes. Of course it would have never been possible if it was only for 2 episodes per week. So now we just have to see and watch what we can get from this show. So talking about the ending, of course we have already discussed the whole plot line of Bhasm and then Param and every single one of these characters, And yes, the people, the cast and crew members are still working. We saw Ada Khan, who plays Agil, was in her, you can say, dressing room, and she was getting ready for Agil. So Baalveer season 3 is not gone. It is just stopped, and of course it just will be, you can say, it definitely has to depend on the fact on how much things that can get into the show and what they can make out of it. So Baalveer says that he will be back with more powers and with a different, you can say, thing. So we'll have to just wait and watch what Baalveer means by that. And of course we have to really just make some sort of a way for Baalveer to be there. So we will see how that all goes on and about. So of course we saw a post from Dev Joshi this very, you can say, week, and that post was about Baalveer fans and how Baalveerians should not give up on their favorite show. So Dev Joshi says that Baalveer is not gone anywhere and that Baalveer will be back soon, and this was posted on September 10th. And of course he has his tags that say Baalveer, Deviants, Superhero India, and Optimistics India. So we really can't take anything out of it except the fact that this show is really gone. And of course this was edited in a way because we can clearly see the Sony sub logo, and everyone is very, you can say, excited for it. So it was posted, quite some time ago, and only now people are being worried about this whole thing that Dev Joshi posted. Now of course Dev is not in the, you can say he is not on the set. We have no idea where he is, and it is no, you can say, fact that whatever he posts is actually him being live there. So that is you can say it is a mishap. So talking about the whole run of Baalveer 3, and of course we have to talk about the whole episode 106 and what we can expect from it. So it says that Baalveer has a number of 104 episodes, and it does say that Baalveer's original release was from 18th March to 9th September, and this was the whole run. And of course there is one thing that we noticed. This was definitely something out of the ordinary, and it just doesn't make any sense. So we just have to see what it is, what does it mean. So we can clearly see that Baalveer Returns had 2 seasons. So this much was very clear, but the Wikipedia page is now wrong about it and says that Baalveer had 3 seasons. Actually Baalveer Returns had 3 seasons, which is not true at all. Baalveer Returns had 2 seasons, and it doesn't even make sense for the 2nd season to be there. So of course this was a whole show, and it had new storylines and new covers and everything, but the season remained the same. Baalveer Returns was actually the 2nd season of the Baalveer show. So they just divided the show into 3 parts. The season, it shouldn't be called season, it should be called part 1, where our ruling villain would be Timnasa, and then part 2 would be Bambal and everyone else, and then we had Ray. So that would make sense. And then when Timnasa tried to blow up Baalveer and the whole earth, so that was supposedly season 2. We have no idea why. And of course this was the re-entry of Timnasa, so that was also it is just stuffed in there. So we can clearly see that they just destroyed and butchered the whole factual knowledge about Baalveer Returns. So it does not have 3 seasons. This is a misconception, and someone definitely rewrote this. It was actually 2 seasons, and they just had, can say, the number of episodes of the first season were actually a lot more, and the number of episodes for season 2 were a lot less. So we have no idea where this change of you can say knowledge came from, but it is not true. So we can say that Baalveer had a great run. It is definitely an achievement for Baalveer 3 to surpass 104 episodes, and of course the number is still once again is at the 4, and it just feels very, you can say, a sort of deja vu to have experienced this number to be the last episode of both these shows. And of course it would have been great if we, you can say, could push Baalveer to have at least 111 episodes, because that would actually mean a lot to the Baalveer fans. It would actually have a lot of meaning behind it, because 1 + 1 + 1 would be 3, and that would be Baalveer 3, but they just stopped it at 104. So it's up to us, the fans of Baalveer, to really keep and take the legacy and keep it alive with as much sense as possible, because this is something that the showrunners of Baalveer 3 completely forgot to do. And of course this whole thing seemingly being deja vu makes a lot of sense, because Baalveer Returns ending was done in a similar way to Baalveer 3, so they really did not learn anything from their own show, from their own disaster that they made, and somehow they even made something really terrible. And of course we have been very vocal about the mishaps and misdoings of Baalveer 3 from the very start, and we had a tiny bit of hope that they might have some sense and change their way of writing their dialogues and storyline, but nothing changed, and we just now are at an unfinished storyline. Of course it is unfinished, it was never finished. And of course it would have made sense if you can say the whole truth about Benam being Baalveer's mother, and that episode being the last episode would make sense, and of course it would have completed the whole motherhood theme of this show, and it would have ended at episode 100 or maybe episode 101, but it would have made sense. But they decided to add another plot, which is of Baalveer's father, and this is something terribly similar, and you can say very uncomfortably similar to Baalveer Return season 2 when Gaal happened. And of course Baalveer Returns had Gaal, who looked very similar to Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, and now Baalveer 3 has this villain who looks very similar to Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. So these are the things that really made this, you can say, a rewrite of the same old mistakes that they did in their second show, and now they did that same mistake in their third show. So of course it could have been avoided. All of these things could have been avoided had they just listened to their own fans, but they did not. So we have all our videos as evidences on what would really revive the Baalveer theme, the Baalveer element of this show, but they just did not care to listen to any of us. They did not care to listen to the trending hashtags by Baalveerians of bringing back their favorite Rani Pari or any other character. Even Vivan, once Sayani was still there, they could not hire him. And of course, it would have just made something very meaningful. But now it's just a mess, and fans are now left alone with, you can say, an open end to the show. And of course, it is up to us, the content creators of Baalveer season 3, and of course the whole Baalveer franchise, to fill that void of the missing episodes of Baalveer season 3. Now, of course, they did say that Baalveer will be back very soon, which means that they might go at their lowest and release the episodes weekly, maybe monthly, just like they did with Baalveer Returns. And that was something terribly wrong with the whole show. And of course, they had, you can say, they had weeks, or they even took months to upload those episodes, because they were either not ready or they were not having any sort of you can say their airing dates figured out. So they just made it a very big mess, and then we were just left to be without the end that we needed, which was Carl's death. And of course, in a very similar way, we need Basm's death, and that is something that isn't going to just come to us. And of course, we are never going to see Baalveer's father dying. So Basm's death won't be aired on Sony Sub or Sony Live, but we are definitely going to have a very unique depiction on how Basm will die by the hands of his own father, actually son. So Baalveer will kill his father, and it would more likely be Baalveer killing his mother's hater and no one else, because Baalveer's father would have crossed every single line, and Baalveer would just have to save his mother. And that is why he will pick up the trident, the very trident that released Basm from his own imprisonment, and then that same trident will be used on Basm once again, so that he can die. Or maybe Baalveer will just destroy his, or what they had in mind was Baalveer destroying his father's statue, and that would make it very sure that Basm will never return. And of course, Baalveer will do that to save his own mother. And this is what Baalveer stands for, and Baalveer will stop at nothing from making it happen. So it is definitely a very terrible thing for a son to have to take this much of a big step. But Baalveer's father would have crossed every single line, so that Baalveer had to save, in order for Baalveer to save his mother and put his mother first, exactly like the element, the motherly theme. Baalveer will put his mother first, and he has to stop his father by any means possible, and the trident is the only way to stop Basm. So after Basm is dead, Baalveer will now be faced with another major villain, and of course this major villain is not someone very intimidating. It is someone rather slim and not intimidating at all, but sometimes people who are not intimidating are the most vicious and the most, you can say, villainous and venomous in everyone. So we will see how Param is going to be dealt with. And of course, we have everything that would suggest that Param is actually going to have a big say in Baalveer's life, because he is supposedly very powerful. We have seen all the interviews of these new characters. We have also seen the interviews of our person, and the actor who plays Pasum has done an interview which is really sweet. All of these characters, all of these artists, actors are very sweet. They put in a lot of effort and a lot of their hard work, and they get paid for it, hopefully in a very generous manner. And this is something they can do at best and nothing more, because after this they have nothing to do, and the only ones that are or would be still benefiting from the show, of course, would be the consecutives and the people who are in charge, which are probably the owners and everyone else who owns the Sony sub platform and the rights of baalveer and the whole of baalveer's franchise. And of course, the future of baalveer is definitely, you can say it will be going. We can clearly see that the dubs of baalveer shows like baalveer Bangla and other baalveer languages are being aired. They are getting very generous amount of audience. So this just means that this show, or you can say at the very least, the legacy of baalveer will go on and on. And of course, baalveer 3 will also be dubbed, and it will definitely take some time for them to do that, but it will be dubbed and then it will be released on all the other Sony channels that are going to air their respective languages in their respective countries. So baalveer 3 along with baalveer Returns will be uploaded on the baalveer Bangla and baalveer Returns. Bangla will also be there, and other languages which are concerned with the parts of their own country. So we can clearly see that baalveer has done a very big thing. We should applaud all the cast members, all the people who have worked really hard for it, except the writers who really butchered this show. And of course, we really have to give the flowers to the people and appreciation that they very much deserve, which comes to an end of baalveer's franchise. Subscribe our channel and watch these baalveer episodes only on Magic World, where new baalveer episodes are daily uploaded with new ideas, only for the true baalveer fans who want to experience the wonders of baalveer that are brought to you by Magic World. Take care of yourself and be happy.